All right, everybody, it is time to talk Season 2, Episode 1, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. And like many of the Tolkien fans out there, I went into this nervous, but, at the same time, hoping that they had learned lessons from Season 1 and taken that feedback to mold their vision and to make something better. We've seen lots of TV shows over time that have had a somewhat, you know, infant season one where they stumble a little bit. I would look at Babylon 5 as a great example of this. Season one was not that great, but seasons two and onward were really, really good. There are many, many examples of this. Um, One would argue Game of Thrones had a season one that was, and then it really took off. Um, Season two, episode one. I gotta say, this feels good. It feels good. I am going to spoil all sorts of things in this review, so if you have not watched the episode yet, pause and go away. Um, I Let's just start off with the fact that if you haven't seen Guillermo del Toro's vampire show called The Strain, the entire opening sequence of this episode reminded me of that. I was like, they're bringing horror elements into Lord of the Rings, and I am all on board for that. Um, the opening sequence is all about essentially Sauron and who he was after Morgoth fell and his, you know, taking the crown. They obviously take some creative liberties here. Um, I'm okay with that. It's uh it's a very compelling look into the creation of a villain. And the part where they basically go all, Caesar on him and 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 take him out and then he's left to reform from the Sauron of before into Halbrand. That whole sequence of like the blood draining down into the depths of the underworld and going into that pool where it then sits for millennia. I mean, however long it is, and then reforms. I don't remember how long it is. I just reread the Silmarillion last year, but I wasn't paying attention to timelines and stuff. So who cares? Very long time. Some Tolkien fan out there is going to be like, but it was this long in the book, and you know what? I'm a Tolkien fan. I don't care. It's television. It's a different medium. You can't show thousands of years of history in the same way. So it's all good. Comes out of the pool as this nasty parasitic thing that grabs this rat and pulls it down into the murk of the pool and then devours it and then claws its way out and makes its way up through the underworld, devouring every little down to the centipedes of the caves, consuming it for food, and then ending up on the mountainside where it then falls down into the path. It gets covered in snow, and the old lady's driving her cart along and bumps over something. I don't know. And then you see it come up the back wheel and into the back of the cabin of the wagon. And then the cabin stops. There's a scream. The horse goes running off. And then we get this shot of bare feet touching the ground, and it pans up, and it's Halbrand. And it's like, I don't care what creative liberties they took. That was an epic freaking sequence. It was really, really good. Like they brought true horror into Middle Earth, and like I said, I hook, line, and sinker am bought into that aspect of it. From here, I'm gonna forget some stuff, guys. You'll just have to. I apologize for that. I totally did not wait for my wife to watch this because I was like, look, I got to get the review up first thing. I'm gonna do this at like 5 o'clock in the morning. She doesn't have time to watch shows until like 3 in the afternoon. So I was like, we're gonna totally watch it again tonight, and I can't wait to watch this a second time and have some more feedback, which I will talk about more in season two or episode two when I do the review for episode two. They launched the first 3 episodes, so expect to see Rings of Power stuff from me for the next few days as I watch the episodes and then check in with Chris, watch it with her, and then get more feedback. We'll definitely be doing like a recap of the first 3 episodes as well. So from there, it's essentially we go from there into this. I believe it's the chase sequence. It's next. I don't have show notes. The chase sequence is next, and Bear McCreary's score is really intense here, and you get the sense that this is not a playful horse chase. It's Galadriel chasing after Elrond, and essentially this is him presenting the rings to the king and saying, "Look, Galad, the these things are probably tainted by Sauron." And Galadriel's explaining, she reveals to Gil-galad, who Halbrand was. And suddenly there's this thing of like, well, we need those rings because now we need some, like, we can't leave Middle Earth now. Like, we were going to leave Middle Earth because the leaves are falling. But if this truly is Sauron and he's come back, we need to take these rings. Even if they might be tainted by Sauron, we need those rings to defeat the evil. We can't leave Middle Earth now if Sauron is back, because we will then create a new Dark Age where he becomes the new Morgoth. Elrond is like, yeah, screw that, yeets himself off a waterfall and runs to Círdan, who is Ben Daniels, who is phenomenal in everything he does. His role as the general in Foundation is so good. Like he's a good actor. Anyway, and he actually buys into Elrond's thought process of we need to destroy these, and he takes them out into the sea to get rid of them. And then ultimately the boat gets rocked by some force, and he drops the bag of rings, and it kind of opens up, and he sees inside, and he pulls them out, and he gets enamored. And then there's this sequence where Galadriel at the same time had showed up to like get Elrond and get the rings under the order of the king with soldiers, and they go back thinking that the rings are lost. And so there's this scene where Gil-galad is speaking to the elves. Our time has ended. Everyone's sad, and then here comes Círdan with a big red ring on his hand and a bag with two more, and he's like, "Here," and the sequence of shots, the rings fall down, they bounce around. One of them falls at Galadriel's feet. She picks it up, puts it on. Gil-galad puts one on, and all of a sudden the tree reblooms. The leaves are back. There's a bright, glowing light from the forest. And I think that we all know, those of us who have read The Lord of the Rings, we understand that the three were never touched by Sauron. Now, obviously, they're going to take some creative liberties here because they lean heavily into the what if. That's Elrond's whole shtick in this first episode is, but what if they were tainted by Sauron? What if this is part of his long-term plan? What if, what if, what if? And I realize that that's taking some creative liberties with things because we know from the books that they were never tainted by Sauron, but it works good for building tension in the show. And I can tell you, I'm going to wait to watch it with Chris, and then I'll have a recap talking. I may try to get her to come do one with me in video. We don't have a mic set up, so it's like I don't know how we would do that. Anyway, um, you know, they've got the rings. Now, ultimately, you know that those rings go to other people. So in the course of how this journey unfolds, getting to the third age, we will be seeing that. There's also, I'm trying to remember what else we have. The hermit, or not the hermit, but the old wizard dude traveling with Nori. Nori, what's her name? Is it Nori? I don't remember. Anyway, um, traveling out and um, in the wilderness looking for Rhun, and they get into this desert land and they're going in circles. And he keeps having these dreams at night where he sees like this shimmer of energy in the air, and it creates like a branch of a tree, and it's shimmering between multiple different forms of staves. And when he reaches out in the dream to touch it and he grabs a hold of it, it basically he has a flash of visions of the Eye of Sauron, multiple different wizards. We see Ciarán Hinds as someone who could potentially be Saruman. I'm probably reaching. They have obviously given him a very visually distinct black and white streaked beard, which traditionally Saruman has appeared in that form before. It's who knows what's going on there. But they're wandering in the desert, and in the course of all this, they realize they're being followed, and it turns out that it's the other Harfoot girl, Poppy, I think is her name, and she's followed them, and she's got these pages from the old man's book from before, and there's something in there about the lyrics of the song that they sang, the traveling song, right? Which we got in the first season. It's one of those Tolkien-esque moments where it had really good music and the lyrics to this traveling song as we got these vistas of New Zealand. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. We realized that the lyrics to that song are a map. These lyrics are showing the way to decipher the puzzle of the desert and how to get back to where they came from many generations ago, and that's how they end up getting to Rhun. So we've got sort of closure on that. They've made it to Rhun, and now that adventure can unfold. One of the things I really appreciated was as Halbrand is working his way up through the ranks of Adar, and gaining that trust and I know who Sauron is after you did what you did, and I can help you take him out. Like he's so manipulating all sides here. Um, it's and I think that the crowning achievement for me here was when he appears to bend the knee and basically at Adar's feet with his face in the sand. They're like proclaim loyalty to him, and he does this whole thing where he's like, I'm giving my loyalty to the Lord of Sauron forever until the end or his end. All of my will is there. And he's essentially swearing allegiance and loyalty to himself, not to Adar, but Adar is the current Lord of Mordor. So trickery of words, Sauron being tricksy, as his wont. I really do feel like they captured the essence of what is at stake here with the seduction of Sauron and the power of the rings, the fact that the three could be tainted. We're building up towards the fact that the rest of the rings are tainted, right? We get a closing shot here of Celebrimbor building a new forge, and talking about the next stage, which I believe is going to be the creation of the other rings, the 9 rings for mortal men doomed to die, and 7 for the bleh, 7 for the dwarf lords and their yeah. Anyway, um, those will definitely be corrupted because we've already seen in the trailer that Halbrand is going to appear as Anatar for Celebrimbor in Fire and Light and Magic and Smoke, appearing as one of the Valar. So, haven't seen anything of Numenor yet. I'm assuming that'll be next episode. Find out what's up there. If I remember correctly, Isildur got left behind. The queen was blinded. I don't remember all the things, but I'm assuming we're gonna get to Numenor soon. If I had to give this a rating out of the gate, obviously, my more tempered review usually comes when I watch it with Chris. I don't really have anything bad to say about this episode. Like, obviously, they are playing fast and loose with the lore. I haven't had a mithril moment like I did from the first season where I'm like, ooh, no, why did you do that? This just felt like genuinely good TV. The opening sequence got me. Like, that was such a great sequence of shots depicting, right after Morgoth into Sauron and then the Adar doing what he does and going through. Oh, we also got a snippet, sort of a throwback to something about Adar giving this speech at later on to Halbrand when he's a prisoner about how I went through what you went through. I was one of the 13 chosen, in the beginning to accept my new role and to convert from being an elf into this thing with Morgoth's blessing. And he talks about the process. And I thought that was a cool nod to the lore because that's another area where we've never really been given explicit details about how that change occurred. We just know that the dark magic converted them. My gut reaction here is that they learned from the feedback from season one, and this feels a lot more like Middle Earth. It feels a lot more like Tolkien. It feels a lot more, obviously, I'm going to say true to the books, even though they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion. Those of us who have read, they are taking aspects from the Second Age that are sort of well known in the appendices and painting in there. Um, it works. I got nothing bad to say about this, and that's very interesting considering, I was very critical of season one, and there were quite a few things. I'm still gonna keep poking at the Mithril storyline. Quite a few things that I poked at from the first season, but yeah, this was just really good television, and I gotta say, I'm honestly looking forward to watching episode two, and more importantly, I'm really looking forward to seeing my wife's reaction to what her thoughts are on episode one, because she's never read the books, and so she gets to come into this completely untainted by prior um, beliefs and prejudices, and she gets to watch it fresh, which is a very interesting place to be. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts. Drop them down below. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Daily streams here and on Twitch, and I will of course be reviewing every episode of season two, just like I did with season one, and providing additional feedback and thoughts around the show based on my long-term love of Middle-earth, The Lord of the Rings, the Silmarillion, and beyond. I am by no means a scholar on the topic, but I am fairly passionate about it. But I am definitely not one of those types of Tolkien fans who's going to tell you what this show should or shouldn't be. I might critique it, um, but at the end of the day, it's a good thing because it brings more people to Middle-earth and a love of the Lord of the Rings, and that is never, ever, ever a bad thing, everybody. So let's celebrate that aspect of the show and look for the kernels of good, critique the things that aren't so good, and at the end of the day, we all meet back at the table to celebrate the books. Thanks for being here, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Happy viewing.